This is Lehigh Valley Political Pulse. I'm Tom Shortell. Each week, political scientist Chris Borick joins me to discuss the latest scientific-based research related to public opinion. We dive into the local, state, and national levels and what it all means for you. It's a week from Election Day. A historic presidential campaign is nearly complete, as are critical races for the U.S. House and Senate. But even by the standards we've come to expect in a modern election cycle, this has been a crazy ride. Chris, what surprised you most this cycle?
Probably from my perspective, and I don't know if it was completely a surprise, but President Biden deciding not to run. We just don't see that very often in American politics. Didn't see it since 1968. So if there was one event that I think had the most impactful role in this year's elections, it would probably be there. But as you said, it's a hard year to decide, given what seems like regular, momentous, historic events.
Of course, the other half of this equation is Donald Trump. He's been the only president to be impeached twice. He left office unpopular and remains unpopular, according to recent polls. But he's also leading in a lot of these polls. How surprising is it that he is so close to a second term?
Yeah, Donald Trump defies all the classic rules and gravity of politics, right? He's been able to turn things on their head in ways I can't count how many times I said, well, that would have killed another candidacy, and it didn't kill Donald Trump's candidacy. And that being said, his approval ratings, his electoral performances always have a ceiling on them, right? He won in 2016 with the slimmest margins that allowed him to get an electoral college victory. His electoral college victory is a little more than just slim, but those races, the ones he won, were all very close.
Down ballot, we've seen Bob Casey being seriously challenged, unlike in past races. Here's a guy who has never lost a general election in his life, but recent polls show Republican Dave McCormick is hot on his trail and may be ahead. Did you expect this race to be so close?
I totally expected it to be more competitive. When you looked at this race, you looked at McCormick, you looked at his qualities, you can see that this would be a type of candidate that might pose a harder matchup for Senator Casey. He's won, as you said, going away, double-digit averages over the course of his statewide runs. He really has been a dominant force in Pennsylvania politics, but he also has been in around politics for a long time. And that has wear and tear. There's voting records. You've had to engage. You have to own things that are happening. And when the public's not all that happy with the direction, it becomes challenging for incumbents. On the whole, I'd much rather be an incumbent running than I wouldn't. But over a certain period of time, those things start to weigh on you. And I think they have weighed on Senator Casey.
Everyone knew coming into the Lehigh Valley's congressional district race that this was going to be a toss-up. But the political finance database Open Secrets reports that nearly 2/3 of the spending here is benefiting incumbent Susan Wild. Was that on your bingo card, that she was going to dominate financially the way she has so far?
Maybe not to the degree. Again, we talked about the perils of incumbency and the wear and tear after a while that Casey might be experiencing. But as I just said before, I'd still rather be the incumbent. And why? Because incumbents are able to usually raise a lot more money, significantly amounts. Now, did I think it would be this disproportionate in the race? Probably not. But I assume that she most likely would have more money. And that doesn't guarantee you victory, by the way. There's plenty of cases where the person that wins the most. So you have to be competitive. I think Representative McKenzie has been competitive. He's being outspent, but he still has some sizable amounts. As you said, the race looks close. When we polled, we've talked about this. We had her at about 51%. That's where she's polled the last couple times. He was polling in the mid-40s. With a lot of people not making up their minds, he had room for growth. I wouldn't be surprised if his final numbers are higher if you look at the district and you look at past performance. It's going to be a close race.
That's Muhlenberg College political scientist Professor Chris Borick. This has been Lehigh Valley Political Pulse. I'm Tom Shortell. For an extended version of this interview, visit LehighValleyNews.com.